Today's workshop is APA writing style, so a very important workshop, but also a lot of information. So I am going to be putting some helpful links to kind of reiterate what I go over in the presentation at the end. If you do have some questions, my friend Peyton is watching the chat today, and she will help out as best she can with questions. A couple things, just make sure if we are asking questions, try and keep it on the topic of the workshop today. If you have questions beyond the scope of the workshop, feel free to reach out to your academic advisor for specific questions, or even your instructor if it's something about classwork that is due. That being said, I will give a quick introduction. For those of you who are new to Saturdays, my name is Craig. I usually host on Saturday with Marissa. Marissa's off this week, so you just got my friendly voice this afternoon. I am a programmatic and career advisor here at Post. I have worked at Post almost 3 years. I also completed my undergrad at Post, and I'm pursuing my MBA at Post currently. So I have been through the gambit as a student. I understand everything that you are probably going through, and all your feelings are valid. So never feel like you are feeling something that is inappropriate towards school, because you are going to go through all the emotions throughout your years here at Post. That being said, I do generally work with students who are above 21 credits until they graduate or until I leave, one of the two. I don't plan on going anywhere anytime soon. So basically, once you get to me, you're stuck with me. Most people like it, but I can be a little bit much. Peyton, who is helping in the chat today, she is a first-year team lead over in academic advising. So she typically helps out with students who are between 0 and 21 credits to try and get through that first year, get all those questions out of the way, and really get you prepared for the meat and potatoes of your degree, which is where you come over to my team. We will be going through APA today. Like I said, it's a lot of information. You are not expected to learn all of this in one day if you are having some trouble. It took me quite a few classes before I finally perfected APA, so it is always a work in progress. So just make sure when you are doing your work, try and read your instructor's feedback if they are hitting you for APA points, and try and incorporate that into future papers and see that grade go up. We're going to be going through the APA edition, 7th edition template today, in-text citations, reference page, and then at the end we will do some Q&A. Like I said, feel free to put your Q&A into the chat as we go. We do have people here that will be happy to answer anything that they are capable of answering during the presentation, but we will open it up to where I can unmute your mics at the end, and if you have any other pertinent questions, we can try and answer those one-to-one towards the end. All right, so the most important thing, which is something I still do after 7 years of being an online student, before you start writing your APA 7th edition paper, download the copy from your class in Blackboard. If you don't see it in your class in Blackboard, when you open up a Microsoft Word document, it has blank templates there. So you may have to search for it, but it's usually right in the front where it says Post University 7th edition APA blank template. If you don't use that template, you'll have to set up all the margins, the page numbers, align the pages, and do everything yourself. So just having that template and reusing it over and over again is the most time efficient and easiest way to start to get the hang of APA formatting. When you're doing an APA paper, there's 3 parts that are going to be looked at by your professors. Your title page, the body, which is the actual information you're presenting, and then your references. So that's kind of what we're going to go through today. I will try and be as slow as possible, but being from New England, I am a little bit of a fast talker. This very blurry picture is where you can find the APA template in Blackboard. So if you look on the left hand of the picture, you'll see the usual setup, unit 1 through 6. And then as you scroll down, there's some student resources that we go over in one of the other workshops. But on that tab, there should be an APA section where you'll find your formatted paper. But like I said, it is right in Microsoft Word as well. So if you open up Microsoft Word through your student portal, it is one of the blank templates that is right at the forefront. All right, so like I said, when you download and use the template, it will set up your paper correctly every time. What I do is I will go to the line I want to do, especially for the title page, delete each line one by one and add my information under that so it stays in the same alignment. So once you set that up on the title page, you are good to go to start writing your paper. This picture is really blurry to me as well. But it's basically going to have, after the title page, it'll show like, this is where the body of your work goes. And then at the end, the reference page is going to say references at the front, and then you'll do your references one by one below that. It's very important to try and make sure those references go on their own page at the end. Sometimes the formatting is weird, and I'll go back and I'll double check my work and I'll see that the references may have blended in with my actual body of my paper. So sometimes I have to just hit the enter button a bunch of times till it gets on its own page. So just be mindful of that, as well as the title page not flowing into your paper. In-text citations, they seem difficult, but they aren't. We do have Grammarly, so that helps out with a lot with generating citations for you. So definitely use that as much as you can. There's a bunch of different free citation generating machines as well that you can get on Google. I use those fairly extensively and have never had an issue. But the most important things you're going to remember is the author's last name and the year of publication for your in-text citations. The exception to that would be if there's no author, you're just going to use the publication or the organization. So let's say you're looking up an article to support your paper and you find something on Indeed or LinkedIn or any of the big websites as far as blogs and articles go. You can just use linkedin.com or indeed.com for that part of the citation. And if there's no date listed, you're just going to do n.d. to signify no date. And if it's a direct quote from a book, like from your text, let's say you're using a direct quote from your textbook, you're just going to use the page number as well, where you got that quote from. So here's a couple different examples of citations. So the first one is going to be if you're using one author. Thank you very much, Peyton. That's an awesome link. That is specifically what I use, the citation machine. And it has never failed me. Sometimes you have to add a little bit of information that's missing just by looking at the article, but it is a fantastic resource to give you a citation in about 2 minutes. And it will save your reference page as well. So at the end, when you're making all your in-text citations, you can just copy and paste your whole reference page and put that at the end of your paper. So it is a really good resource. This first one is with one author. So you have your sentence there, heavy social media could be linked to depression and other mental disorders in teens. Space, parentheses. I'm not going to try and pronounce that last name, but you'll have the last name and comma 2019, close the parentheses. That's how you'll put your in-text citation. If there's no author, like I said, more than 300 million people worldwide are affected by depression. In this case, the website used or the database used is the World Health Organization, and that article was published in 2018. And then finally, we have the infamous no date, which you will see quite a bit as you are going through a lot of your papers as you move through your degree. So for that, you're going to put where you got the information, either the author's name or the website, comma, ND, end. So easy peasy. It's confusing at first, but like I said, with more practice and the more you get into your rubrics and read your grading feedback, the easier APA formatting will get for you. All right, so sometimes you will embed the author's name into the sentence as a citation. So in this case, if you're quoting the author directly, it says, Gass and Veronis, 1984, found that the most important element in comprehending non-native speech is familiarity with the topic. So if you are directly quoting somebody that way, you want to make sure you put the author's name and the date like that, oops, in your citation. If you're citing multiple works, which I do fairly often when I'm writing a paper, I generally will paraphrase a whole paragraph and then cite it at the end. So often I'm using sometimes 3 different sources within a paragraph. So you're going to list them in order at the bottom, at the end of the paragraph, or in the middle of the paragraph, wherever you're using the direct citation. So in this case, there's 2 different sources. So you'll do the first source, and then a semicolon, and the second source. And then finally, a direct quote. These I typically shy away from using myself because I just don't like that how much it affects your safe assign score. So Alan, at the end, I'm going to post a link for the YouTube channel that has all the archived presentations, so that anybody who, if you have a question after the fact, you can always go back and look at those. So I will post that at the end. It's right on YouTube. So the direct quote, I try and use these as little as possible because, like I said, it generally pings a higher safe assign score, because if other people have used the same quote, or it'll link directly to the article it found the quote from. So it does typically tend to give you a higher safe assign score. And I found that once I stopped using direct quotes, my safe assign scores went down. By all means, use them if it is applicable. And in the case that you do use one, you're going to do it exactly like this. So Gas and Veronis 1984 found that, and then you're going to quote directly, open and end the quote, and then you'll put the page that you found the quote. So if it's on page 85 on your book, you'll just put page 85. And then your instructor or anybody reading the feedback, when they look at your bibliography or your reference page at the end, they'll be able to click into that, go to page 85, double check that quote, and make sure that it's properly, accredited. The biggest thing is, good question, Tony. Your safe assign score is what score generates when you turn in a paper. Usually when you turn in your paper at the end of a week, the safe assign score it'll scan your paper for plagiarism. And the safe assign score is just basically the percentage of the paper that may or may not match with another work that's been submitted or another article that's online that's in the database. So it's really just kind of a back-end plagiarism checker, I guess would be the best way to put it. And usually about 10 to 15 minutes after you submit your work, you can go back into the submission and it'll have your safe assign score. And when you click on that, it'll show you exactly where in your text it's hitting it. A lot of times it's just your reference page or your citations. So if you do see a safe assign score based on that, like, do not freak out. If you have 100% safe assign score, that's when you may want to worry a little bit, because that's generally 100% copied from somebody else's work. But citations do make up a good percentage of the safe assign score, and that's usually just kind of looked over by the professors, and as long as everything is kosher, they move on. All right, reference page entries. If you are citing something in your paper, like I said, you want it to show up in your reference page, and vice versa. If you have something on your reference page, you want to make sure it's cited in your paper. All reference page entries must be in alphabetical order. And then the reference page entries generally have a hanging indent where the first line is all the way aligned to the margin and the rest of the lines are indented. Some of your citations may not even be 2 lines, but if you do see a 2-line citation, you just want to go down to the second line and just hit the tab button to move that over, and it should indent it enough for you. Typically, instructors aren't as big on checking the indentation. So if you aren't figuring that out right away, or you're having an issue with that, you can always reach out to your instructor or to the writing center, which I will give some information about later, to help with those indentations. But it's never something I've struggled with as a student. All right, here is some fun ways to do reference page entries. So if you are referencing a book, you're going to first start with the author's name, last name, and initials for first and middle name, if applicable. Publication date. The title will be in italics, and you'll capitalize only the first word of the title and the proper nouns. And then the publisher, you don't need to include a publisher location. So Whoever published the book is all you have to put there. For instance, like most of our textbooks are from McGraw-Hill, so that would be the publisher in this case. And then if you are retrieving a book online, try and have the URL, which is basically the link to where the website or where the book is, so that's easy to retrieve for the person checking that. So when you put all that together, that thing keeps skipping on me. When you put that all together, the citation at the bottom will match up with what the book citation should look like. If you're doing an article, similar, author first, date of publication, title of the article in italics, title of the publication. So where is the article from? Is it from Newsweek, New York Times, USA Today? Like, where are you getting the article from? The volume number, if given, and then the page numbers of the article, if given. Volume and page number are very rare. So really the main things you want to have in there is the author, the date, the title of the article, where the article came from, and then once again, if it's retrieved online, just have that link so that somebody can easily go back and double check. So these are what they will look like for different types of articles. So a journal article right here is going to have your author's name, your date, the title of the article, where the article came from, and then the URL. If it's a magazine article, you can see that in this case, it has the author's name, the date, the article name, the Futurist, which is where it came from. This is edition 40, pages 18 to 21. I agree, Sarah. It was something for me. It was about 16 years between me being in school and everything I had learned was the same but different, if that makes sense. I always knew how to write a paper. You know, you got your thesis, you got your body sentences, and you got your conclusion, which is restating your thesis. But the formatting for me, it took me a very long time to get my citations right. I was scared of citations. I had all the feels. So it is definitely something that a lot of people, if not probably 90% of students, struggle with for the first year and even into the second year with getting that 100% right. It took me to have an instructor who really cared about it and who highlighted everything for me to where it really had that light bulb moment for me. So there's no real right or wrong time frame on understanding this. The best thing you can do is always just do your best and keep trying to learn a little bit each time. And the only way to do that is to either do it 100% right the first time or get some incorrections. And incorrections, as long as you fix them, are a great way to learn. That's my favorite way to learn, is by doing something wrong. My wife hates me for it, but that's just kind of my way of learning things. That Purdue OWL that Peyton put in the chat is also a really, really excellent resource. It has basically everything right there for you for APA style in a great, numbered way with different sections for each part. So that one is a fantastic, fantastic resource. I highly recommend anytime you get links in these presentations, add them to your favorites on your toolbar so that way you can always go back to them. But literally, if you follow along that APA style link that she put, you can get the paper done, step by step, exactly the way it needs to be done. All right. Reference page entries for web pages and social media, which will probably be most of what you're referencing when you're doing your schoolwork. Author, if known. Sometimes you have to dig for the author in an article, but if there is no author, like we said, just use the title of the article and then the date. If there's no date, use the ND, title of the web page in italics, publisher if known, and then the URL. It is very, very important to make sure you have the correct URL for a web page reference, because that's the only way somebody can go back and check it. And with the amount of, I don't want to say plagiarism, but with the amount of plagiarism, whether intentional or unintentional, where I would say most plagiarism is unintentional. It's really important to have your bases covered and make sure you have that URL there so that your instructors can go back and verify the work. If they aren't able to access the article, there's no way that for them to know where the information came from. And I think the most important thing is anytime you're writing something and giving an idea, if you're not citing it, it's being assumed it's your thought. So super important, those URLs. And this is what it should look like for a reference page entry for a article. As you can see, there's a few different styles. So we have the web page with the author. Those are my favorite because those are the easiest to in-text citation as well as do the reference page. But you're going to have the author's name, the date, the title of the article, where the article came from, and the URL. Web page with no author. A lot of times you'll find one that's either a blog or an informational section of a website. So this one came from the American Cancer Society, 2019. Genetics and Cancer is the name of the article. And then here is the link for it. And then finally, if you're doing something off of YouTube, which I don't really recommend using for citations unless you know for sure that it's a reliable source, because anybody can post a YouTube video nowadays, kind of similar to a blog. So if it's something that's super opinion-based or it doesn't have a lot of facts backing it up, be very cautious how much you're using social media for your citations, because it may not line up with the actual facts of what you're doing your research on. But if you are to use social media, this is how you do it. So Howcast is the name of the YouTube channel in this case. The video was posted on 2010, October 29th. How to recognize claustrophobia symptoms is the name of the video from YouTube, and here's the YouTube URL. There are a lot of great YouTube videos, so don't be scared by me saying that. I just will never say enough to exercise caution whenever you're doing research and make sure you're having the correct information given to you as well. Like Peyton said, Wikipedia and WikiHow are not reliable sources most of the time. So you want to avoid anything that's general or that the general public can edit whenever they want. Wikipedia, anybody can go in and edit an article, and if nobody catches it, that information will just sit there until somebody edits it back. I'm sure we've all seen a funny like Wikipedia article meme that somebody posts right after something happens where somebody went in and edited the Wikipedia to be funny. That's how reliable Wikipedia is. So do not stress, though. There are plenty of articles. If you're looking for an article and doing research, the best case scenario is that you search peer-reviewed space, whatever you're trying to look up. That will generally be an article that has been overviewed by somebody else in that field and approved, meaning the answer is the information is accurate. So peer-reviewed articles, you can find those in the school library database as well as on Google. They have a nice section for peer-reviewed information. But I say that to say this, now we can do some Q&A. The most important thing today is this is basically the structure of the API paper, not so much like how you're going to write the paper. Peyton's link right here, copy that one. Definitely look at the citation machine link and the Cite for Me link that she put above too. Use those and love those. That will help you out, way more than the presentation will, because it's all right there in front of you all the time. But if you give me a couple minutes, I'm going to put a couple different links in the chat as well. The first one I'm going to put is for our Center of Academic Success and the Writing Center. The difference between the two, because they're both under the same umbrella, is the Center for Academic Success is going to be for general tutoring help. If there's a tutor that we have that works with that specific class, the Center for Academic Success is an awesome place to get one-on-one tutoring. But my favorite thing about the Center for Academic Success is the Writing Center. They will literally, if you send them your paper earlier in the week, they can take a look and give you some tips on how to improve your APA formatting and how to improve your writing. And all you have to do is email the paper to writing@post.edu to set up an appointment to talk to them. And I cannot tell you how many students I've had under my caseload that have worked with the Writing Center, and within a few weeks even, they're seeing massive improvements in their writing and their scores. So the Writing Center, I will always, always, always tell you to know that information and use it, because us academic advisors can help out as much as we can, but we're not trained tutors. We may not have gone through the class. We may not know how to do specific APA formatting the same way the professors do. So the best place for a concrete answer is that Writing Center and the Center for Academic Success. So those are the first two links. Anytime you do have general questions, this is just the link to our academic advising team. Deborah, in a second, I can just send an actual copy of it into the chat here so that you can download it. Just give me one moment. That's the number for academic advising. We do have people here 7 days a week. Like I said, we are not tutors. So if you call on Saturday or Sunday looking for help for your stuff that's due Sunday night, we may not be able to help you, as well as, you know, the professor themselves or some tutoring during the week. So if you are struggling, my best advice is to reach out as early in the week as you can, so that way you can get connected with the right resources to be successful over the weekend when there may not be as many resources here. Saturdays, we usually have advisors here till about 4 o'clock. It starts to thin out around 2 o'clock, and Sunday about the same thing. So there's definitely somebody you can talk to, but we may not always be able to give you a direct answer. So your best bet is to look at your work early in the week and see what may be giving you troubles and start to address those questions earlier than later. And I know Peyton had put a few things, but I am going to give all of the links real quick. So this is basically all of the helpful links about APA citations or APA formatting in a nice little row. Matthew, if you forgot your advisor's name, you can look on your student portal. It should have your advisor's name. Or you could just call the general advising line, give them your information, and they can let you know who your advisor is and connect you with somebody else if your advisor is not here. All right, here is a couple more helpful numbers to give you before I post the link to the workshops and open up questions. Yes, the number I gave is the regular number, Matt. You should be able to get somebody if you call there. All right, this is the information for the school library, the IT Help Center. The caveat to IT is if it's not a post-IT issue, sometimes they're not super helpful. So if you're having an actual Blackboard issue or a MindTap or a Cengage issue, you want to reach out to those specific IT teams, because they'll be able to help you out a lot quicker than post-IT would, because those are third-party platforms. So beyond resetting a password or getting some information, our IT may not be the best for a third-party IT problem. And then finally, our bookstore. You can email the bookstore anytime. If you need information about how to buy a hard copy of a book, they can usually point you in the right direction. If you are looking to buy a hard copy of a book, my best bet has always been Amazon for the cheapest price. But, you know, there's a bunch of used bookstores around, used bookstores online. So there's a lot of resources for your books where you can find one at a fairly inexpensive price used. So just make sure if you do like a physical copy of your book, you know exactly where to look for it. And as advisors, I have a few students who ask me right before class starts what their next book is going to be, and I'll give them the name of it so they can go ahead and order it. You could do the same thing with your advisor. Here we go. Thank you, Peyton. These are the next workshops coming up. The next one is our academic writing workshop, which is 7 o'clock on Tuesday, which is a great follow-up to this workshop because it's going to tie together the APA formatting with the academic writing. Tuesday, there is also a paraphrasing workshop at 8 o'clock. So If you have time for a nice little 2-hour marathon of workshops this week, those 2 back-to-back are fantastic. APA style writing, again, will be Thursday at 7, and then outlining your paper Thursday at 8. And then next Saturday, Marissa will be doing library and research skills. I will be off next Saturday, so it will be Marissa. I feel like we're alternating days off the last couple of weeks, but at least I got the chat working today. So that was a plus. All right, finally, my last link is going to be to all the archived workshops. Once I find that fun little link in my saved stuff, here we go. And this is the link to all the archived workshops. Definitely favorite this. It has a little bit of everything in there. You can watch the videos at your own pace. If I talk too fast, you can slow me down. All of those fun things you can do on there. And, if you need just one specific slide, you can pause it right on that slide and take as much time as you need to write down your notes, especially with these reference page entries and things like that. I have seen Karen up there taking meticulous notes the whole presentation. So very good job. And that is really it from my rambling. If anybody has any questions, feel free to raise your hand. I will call on you and give you mic access so that you can go ahead and ask those questions. If you do not have any questions and you are good to go, feel free to leave and enjoy the rest of your Saturday. I do appreciate you being here. It's always the highlight of my week doing these presentations on Saturday and kind of getting to talk to people on more of a one-on-one level. So thank you so much for coming. If you have questions, stick around. If you want to stick around and listen to other people's questions, feel free as well. But otherwise, have a great Saturday. Deborah, did you want to ask your question out loud or did you want to put it in the chat? Here you go. I allowed your mic so you can unmute and talk.
Can you hear me?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Thank you so much for sharing this with the APA because I know nothing about it and I've been having time. But is this what we had today with you? Is this recorded work so that I can watch it again? Because I need one-on-one. I'm 64 of and get back in school and it's like, oh my God, it's a challenge.
It's a lot, right? You dove right into the deep end.
Yes. And I know I'm getting on my son nervous because he's in college in Colorado and I'm in Georgia. So I'm like, please help me. But this workshop has taught me just today a lot.
Good. So the link I put up right above where you said I have a question, those are all our saved workshops.
Okay.
So you can go back to any of our workshops that we have archived there.
Okay.
And it's generally the same PowerPoint no matter who's doing the workshop. So if you need to copy those PowerPoint pages, they'll be right there in the workshop for you.
Okay. And I'm having a problem too on my laptop because I'm at work now on my phone. But I'm having a problem. It's another lady with the same name as me, Deborah Hines. Can you believe it? And they said we're almost the same age, but I can't log in now because I don't know. I'm using Deborah Hines Deborah Hines 1, at Student Post, but her email is just as mine, but it's not allowing me to log in. I have to go as a third party to
third party. Yeah, the third party login is how you'll log in.
Okay.
Yeah, you're 100% right with that. It's kind of tricky. So when we log into Blackboard as advisors, we log in through that main login screen. But as a student, I have to log into the third party screen. So I always do it backwards and annoy myself on Sunday nights when I log in to finally finish up my work for the week.
Yes.
I have to remember to log in that way. So you're doing it 100% correct. You're good to go.
Okay, so good. That's good. That's what I want to know. And thank you so I can go cram all of this when I get home today.
You are very welcome.
And I'll see you at the next workshop.
Absolutely. Have a wonderful Saturday.
Thank you. And you do the same.
Thank you.
Okay.
You are welcome, Angela and Griselda and Landowska, if I got that right, hopefully. Rasheen, Teresa, Christopher. Thank you, everybody. questions, you still got some time. So if you have some questions, or if you need me to just slowly rotate through the slides again, I can do that also. If that helps, just tell me which slide number you want. You should be able to control and go back on your own. And you can probably screenshot them too. But if you need me to go back to any, let me know. Delaucius, did I say your name right? I gave you control of the mic. You can go ahead and unmute and talk.
Okay, there we go. Yes, Desluchis is my last name. My first name is Landoska. You
Okay.
kind of said it right earlier.
Oh, Landoska.
Yes,
okay.
very close. And yeah, my question was just pertaining to using the website called Scriber or Scriber. I use it often, and you know, with today's presentation, I'm not too sure. Are you teaching us the format because we should be writing them on our own, or is that okay for me to use, you know, I guess one that does it for you?
I use the same one.
Oh, okay,
I have the little toolbar in my Chrome browser.
Yes.
Where it'll give you like a brief summary of the article, and it'll also give you the citations and APA. So I use that for my citations. I've never had any issues with it.
Okay, same.
So the biggest thing is just making sure the citations are correct, no matter how you get them. So if it's working for you, you're not doing anything wrong by using that resource.
Gotcha. Thank you. And then
You're welcome.
Is this something that I should be working on, like trying to figure out, like, is there going to come a period in time where I won't be able to? Is that why we have, you know, such a breakdown of how it should be?
Well, I think for people who haven't found those resources, like knowing the fundamentals of how to write them, like say, for instance, that website is down for whatever reason, just having the background to be able to write it on your own if you had to is important to know. But with Grammarly and Scribbler, those are both good resources, and they've never let me down in the past 3 years. But I feel like by using those, it kind of gives you the general idea anyways, if you had to do it on your own.
So I do, you know, review it and, you know, try to, I guess, teach myself while it's, you know, doing it for me.
Right.
Just in case, like you said, those times come up.
Yeah, same thing for me. And sometimes the good thing about the Scriber app is you can edit the citation. So oftentimes I'll have to edit and put the author's name in myself, which I do pretty regularly because I'll notice it doesn't pull the author's name when it's on the article.
I gotta pay attention.
Sometimes it doesn't. Yeah. And I like having the name and the date rather than the article title name in my citations. So I'm kind of a stickler for that, just based on my own OCD about writing a paper. But that citation generator, I guess, is great for that because when you click on it in your toolbar, it has an edit button on there. So you can edit it and change any of the information on there to make it how you want it to look.
Great. I'm going to have to try that. But yes, thank you. So that was my question, just to make sure that, like I said, there's not going to be a time where I'm left on my own, even though, like I said, I'm preparing myself either way, but that's good to know. Thank you.
And if you ever are left on your own, a lot of the links we put in the chat are in the Blackboard under student resources anyways. So you can always find the APA citation outline or the how to do citations, right in there if you had to.
Okay, so as far as because I do see the links, and what I was doing with the others was just screenshotting it, but this one actually has links, that'll take me elsewhere. So is there a way for us to be able to save it here, or should I just refer to Blackboard?
So any of the links we put in here, especially the bunch about APA, you can click on those links and just hit the star or the favorites on your toolbar to save it, and it'll just always be there for you.
Oh, that's true. Might as well just do that now.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I do. I have about an exhausted list of favorites in my toolbar right now, because every time I find something useful, even if I never use it again, I just save it just in case. It's almost like my junk drawer at home, my favorites tab.
Right, because you never know when you might need it.
Yeah,
Same way.
like you never know when you're going to get your charged a Nokia phone again from 2001. So
Right.
you keep those
Or
cables
if that
forever.
charger will work for the 2025 phone. You never know.
Exactly. So
But okay, so yes, I'll work on that. Is it going to be available to me after we get out of this chat, or should
the chat should always be there. Because when I look back, like all the previous chats are usually there. You just have to scroll up a lot of the times. So they should, in theory, always be there. I'll definitely leave everything up for a few minutes after we're done with questions. So that way, if you do need to take some time to save all those links, you can do that while I have it open.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. All right, like I said, I'm at the very least, I'm going to leave it open for 5 minutes after the last question. So if you think of any questions in the next few minutes, I will still be here. But if you are good to go, enjoy your Saturday. Thank you for coming in. Like I said in the beginning, this is not a mandatory thing. So I always, my heart fills with joy when I see how many people come to these meetings, because it is Saturday and I know how precious that time is. Is it Abakar? I went ahead and unmuted, or I gave you mic privileges so you can unmute. Oh, hands back down. All right. Go ahead, Wayne. You can unmute and ask your question.
Oh, I finally unmuted.
Yeah, there you go. I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Why did we quit using APA 6? It's easier to use. So what was the big deal about going to APA 7?
I honestly don't have a good answer for that. I don't make those kind of decisions.
I know, but I mean, I can't see that APA 7 gives you any more or any better information than APA 6 did. And APA 6 is easier to use.
Yeah, I do not know. My assumption is that's just kind of the climate of school nowadays, because I know pretty much every other school uses a similar format, whether it's APA or.
I mean, what's the old saying? If it ain't broke, why fix it?
I agree. But in this case, I honestly do not have an answer for that one.
Well, I wish you did, but I understand that you don't, because there really isn't a good reason why they should have changed it, unless somebody was making money off of it.
Yeah, my only thought is maybe they made a couple tweaks over in the APA area. But but I remember when I first started school, we were using APA 6, and then when I finished, it switched to 7. So it was a little bit of a difference, like you said. But I don't know that there was ever like an announcement or anything like that, other than just the climate shifted to 7.
Well, according to my current instructor, in the first week, I did not use an APA 7. because it wasn't said to use APA 7. And when I didn't use APA 7, she says, you were supposed to use APA 7 because that's what the school said about 3 years ago. And I said, well, if you wanted me to use APA 7, why didn't you tell me? And she said, well, I shouldn't have to tell you. Well, I think that's wrong because for the last 2-3 years, I've been using APA 6 and I only had one other professor tell me I should use APA 7, but they didn't count off of me the first time because I didn't. So I just kept on using APA 7. And it just doesn't. I mean, if they want us to use APA 7 every time we're in a course, they should tell us to use APA 7, in my opinion.
Yeah, and
You might pass that on.
I think that when you start the course, it's generally in the announcements or the course information tab.
No, it wasn't.
But in that case, yeah, some professors are definitely more sticklers than others when it comes to grading the presentation.
Yeah.
But definitely you want to be using APA 7. That's what we work every workshop around now, and all the stuff in class. So at least
I
now you
understand
know
what you're saying, and I understand why the theory behind it or the usage. But when I've used APA 7 APA 6 for the last 2 years, and there's been no instructor that has corrected me.
Right.
So obviously they don't understand it, they don't care, or it's not that important to them. And you know, the importance is what you say in your paper, not how you present it necessarily.
I 100% agree with that sentiment. From a person and a student standpoint. So I definitely can relate there, especially like I said, when I started writing, I was writing very well, but I wasn't doing anything in the proper formatting. So I was very frustrated when I started because we didn't have workshops back then or anything like that to really get everybody together to talk about it. So now that's definitely the goal with these workshops, is to make sure we're all on the same page.
Okay, I have one relative question about its functionality, I guess
Mm-hmm.
is the best way to it. APA 6 uses retrieve by or from, and APA 7 does not use that wording. But I have seen APA sources, instructions where it did use retrieve by. So which is more proper, or is it okay to use either one of them?
I would say it's okay to use either one of them, from my standpoint, because I've done both. I think the most important thing is when you're doing the retrieve by is just making sure it's accurate. I don't think anybody's specifically looking for the retrieve by date or the retrieved on date, but I do include it sometimes, if applicable or if I think it makes sense. But I don't know that there's a wrong way to do that. I think putting that information on there isn't going to hurt you any.
I didn't either, and nobody's called me down about it, but I have seen APA 7 videos where they didn't use it, and I've seen APA 7 videos where they did use it. So since nobody really has said one way or the other specifically, I mean, I haven't been called down about it, but it seemed to me that, they want to make sure, if you want to make sure that the person who's reading your reference knows where you got it, I think it would be better to put that in there so they're not confused as where the information came from.
Right. No, that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah, I think with that, it's just more personal preference if you want to put that in there or not. I do put it sometimes. Sometimes I don't. I think you're not doing anything wrong by putting it in there.
Okay. Thank you for your time, sir.
You are very welcome.